Hello, hello. Do
Yes,
you
I
hear
can
me,
hear.
Yes, I can
everybody?
hear you.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
I can. Yeah.
Monjuma is not here.
Manju Bora is there. Okay. She'll be joining anyway. Hello. Let us
Oh,
start now. Hello. Good
Yeah.
evening. Good evening to you
Good evening.
all.
good
Good
evening.
evening to all the panelists and the
Good evening.
participants who have registered already. I'm Manoj Borpujari, film critic, journalist, speaking and moderating today's session. And this is the third webinar organized by Fipresci-India. As you know, Fipresci stands for Federation Internationale de la Presse Cinématographique, which was actually established in 1930 in Brussels, Belgium, and now it has its headquarters in Munich, Germany. The proper English name of the organization is International Federation of Film Critics. So in this time of lockdown and COVID-19, this has become a habit worldwide to have webinars, web conversation, and everything based on the web. So 53rd webinar is today. Our subject is Cinemas of Northeast India, a Resurgence. Earlier, we had two other webinars. First was about pandemic situation, crisis in the film industry, and role of the government. And the second webinar, we had the topic on new Malayalam cinema, its appeal, prospects, and challenges. And because we have selected today's topic as Resurgence of films from Northeast India, let me put a few points before starting and start our discussion. You know, Northeastern India has 8 of states: Assam, Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim, Manipur, Nagaland, Mizoram, Tripura, Meghalaya. And the region has 220 languages and dialects spoken by indigenous people. The region has 46 million people, which is about 4%, less than 4% of the total population of the country. And though it has the geographical area, which is about 8% of the country, 99% of the region is having or sharing international borders. It is surrounded by 5 different countries: Nepal, Bhutan, China, Myanmar, Bangladesh. The Northeast India is part of Indo-Burmese hotspot, and this biological hotspot is second largest in the world. This is fascinating place, as described by many travelers like Huan Sang in the medieval period, to Rahul Sankirtayan, from Verrier Alvin to Kushwant Singh. Everybody finds that it is a area which can be described as a paradise for anthropological study due to its ethnic diversity. There are language barriers, of course, and because of that, Hindi and English are playing as the main lingua franca. And for this reason, an indigenous language film cannot expect it to be received well by all people in this region. There are just above 100 cinema theaters in this region. In comparison, it is very low. Say in Kerala, it has about 3.5 crores of people, just a little bigger than Assam by population wise, but it has 500 cinema theaters, and they release about 200 films per year in average. Where in Assam, we have less than 90 numbers of cinema theaters, and we release about 20, 22, 23 films, feature films in Assamese language in average per year. The Northeast India has its first film made and released in 1935 by Jyoti Prasad Agarwala. And because of the low level of infrastructure, the maker himself carried a Philips portable projector with him to show the film across the state. It was the first political film because the character was taken from medieval Assam, and it has the meaning which is very near to the political narrative of the time. It the character shows the way of non-violent struggle, which was the prime motto of the freedom struggle of the time. And moreover, it can be regarded as the first feminist film because of the character and how it is being treated in the film. And in the main role, there is a woman character, and which was not heard of till then in Indian cinema. But because of the character and the treatment and the way the film is made, not in a theatrical way, not in a melodramatic way, but in cinematic acting, it was rejected by people at large because of the mindset. People were not ready to accept such kind of new beginning, new film. And that is why the followers of the trendsetter, the pathbreaker, could not dare to take the same experiment in film language. So Assam, and for that way, Northeast India had to wait for 40 more years to have a realistic film. In 1976, it was begun as a realistic film in the name of Ganga Sidani Pakhi, made by Potom Borwa. And meanwhile, in Manipur, the first film was made in 1972, Matamgi Manipur or something like that, the name was. But Manipur is known in film world mostly by a maker like Oribam Chamsharma, who's imagining them, and Ishano has done very well at international film festival circuits. And Manipur has a special contribution because when the filmmakers of the state appealed in the High Court to accept their films made in video format for Indian Panorama and for National Film Awards, the government nodded positively, and thereafter digital film has came to Indian Panorama platform and to the National Film Awards ceremony also. So after a boom in digital filmmaking, there is an upsurge in quality filmmaking in whole the region, not only Assam and Manipur, but in other states, say in Meghalaya, in Arunachal, in Manipur, in Mizoram. And some of the filmmakers are self-taught and some have film institute background. But suddenly in last 6-7 years, there is a new breed of filmmakers taking all by surprise. They're full of self-confidence, I would say, full of self-conviction. The government, because of the government, the party, and lack of public support, they dare actually to reclaim a space in creative, aesthetically and philosophically charged world of cinema in their own effort, in their own way. Government support is not totally absent because funding is made available, though very irregularly. But government-funded films fail at box office and also seen as failing to make real impact at film festival outlets. Rather, individually, these filmmakers have made the impact at the international and national level. For example, the Geo Mummy Festival, held every year in Mumbai, 3 years in a row in 2016, 17, 18, the Golden Gateway Award given to a film from India was won by films from Northeast India. There is another filmmaker who has got a very prestigious award in Busan Film Festival. There is some other whose script has been accepted for in the Asia Pacific Script Lab, and for the first time, an Assamese film was selected for the as an Indian entry for Oscar nomination. So today we will look into the nitty-gritty of this silent revolution, I would say, taking place in the northeastern states of India. We call it Resurgence. And so now let me introduce our panelists for today's webinar. We have among us today Manju Gora, who is a short story writer in Assamese and a film director. Her debut feature film Boibhav made in 1999, won the Best Asian Film Award at Dhaka International Film Festival and a national level award given to a first-time director, the Golapuri Srinivas Award. She has made 11 feature films till date, along with many documentaries, and 6 of her feature films have won 8 Rajat Kamals at the National Film Awards. Among various positions she held, a notable one was the chairperson of the Oscar Screening Committee under the Film Federation of India in 2012. Manju Bora has served as jury member of National Film Awards and as member of Indian Panorama Selection Committee several times, and she was given the Satyajit Ray Memorial Award by the Asian Film Foundation Mumbai in 2012 and conferred the Legend of Indian Cinema recognition at the Golden Jubilee of International Film Festival of India. I welcome Manju Bora today. Now I welcome a national award-winning film critic from Manipur, Meghachandra Kungbam. He was a recipient of Swarna Kamal for film criticism at the National Film Awards 2015. A member of Fipresci-India, he is the president of Film Society of Manipur, which is incidentally the third oldest film society in Northeast India. Kungbam has been regularly writing on cinema in leading newspapers of Manipur and East India, the online journal of Fipresci-India. He did his post-graduation in journalism from Banaras Hindu University in 1979 before joining government services. In 1985, he attended the film appreciation course at the FTII, Pune. He has retired from service as the Director of the Information Public Relations, Government of Manipur in 2018. Please welcome Meghachandra Kungbam. Now I would like to introduce, but known to everybody, many people around the world, who is a filmmaker from Manipur, is Hawbam Pavan Kumar, who studied filmmaking at the Satyajit Ray Film and Television Institute, Kolkata. Best known for his documentary AFSPA 1958 that examined the facts of the Armed Forces Special Powers Act in Manipur. Hawbam Pavan Kumar is one of the very few filmmakers who have displayed comprehensive knowledge and mastery in both documentary and fiction features. His documentary AFSPA 1958 won several awards, including the Fipresci and Jury Prize at the Mumbai International Film Festival of 2006, and his another well-known documentary, Fum Song, also titled Floating Life, won accolades in some of the well-known international film festivals. His debut feature film, Loktok Leirembi, was premiered at Asian New Currents section of the Busan International Film Festival 2017 and showcased in Forum section at Berlin the same year. It has won the film Loktok Leirembi, also titled as Lady of the Lake, won 16 awards, including one at the Asia Pacific Screen Awards, Brisbane in 2017, Best Feature at Mumbai Film Festival, and Rajat Kamal for the Best Environment Film at the NFA. Now I introduce Bitupon Borbora. He is a well-known film critic, nationally and internationally. He is a senior journalist, writer, and working with the Assam Tribune group of newspapers. From the very outset, he took film criticism seriously. In 1990, he was the only regular columnist on cinema in Assamese newspaper. He received the State Award for Best Film Critic in 2015. Besides, he is a short story writer, already having 4 anthologies, the first one winning a prestigious literary award in 1999. Bitupon Borbora is a senior member of Fipresci and served as jury member in Mumbai and Bangalore International Film Festival, and in some major overseas film festivals like Cannes, Moscow, Busan, and Cairo. He is the founder festival director of Cine Asa Guwahati International Film Festival, which has been held since 2009. Now I introduce Pranjal Bora, our panelist, by profession, who is an educationist for 12 years running. He is an associate professor of the Department of English at a premier government college in Sibsagar district of Upper Assam. He is known as a translator of creative literature and a film society activist, but he is prominent as film critic. having won Best Critic prizes at the State Film Awards 2016 and Prague Cine Awards 2017. He has been contributing regularly to different outlets and published one collection of articles in cinema. Pranjal attended the Film Appreciation course at the Film and Television Institute of India, Pune, and he is a life member of National Film Archive of India, Pune. He is doing doctoral research now on films and has written a number of documentary scripts. Pranjal is a research person at several seminars, workshops, and appreciation courses, and he is spearheading film literacy throughout Assam. So, I have come to the end of introduction to our panelists, and now I start with Manju Bora. And before going to the details of the historical context on the subject of our webinar today, I would like to have a fair picture of the ground realities that challenges filmmakers. And Manju Bora has a vast practical knowledge in it. She has made films in various languages and dialects of the region, Assamese, Bodo, Bising, Pangpingpa, and explored geographical locations in remote places in Assam, Nagaland, and Arunachal Pradesh particularly. So having seen the realities, how tough it is and how rewarding of making films in Northeast, would you share some experience that you had which are of immense value, I'm sure, Manjura?
Yes, I always tell to my people, to the world, that the strength of my filmmaking or the lifeline of my filmmaking is my people and my land, that is the northeastern region of the country. Without these people, without this region, I cannot make films. I remember once in a press meet, international press meet held in Goa, IFI, I was describing myself as a filmmaker from Northeast, and I told them that I make Northeastern films. Then some of the reporters, journalists, they objected. How can you tell that your film is Northeastern film? Why you are giving a geographical status to your film? Then I said, see, I live in this region of the country. I live with these people where more than 200 people are there. They have their own culture. They have their own linguistic existence. They have their own, political, socio-political, economic, and linguistic and cultural problems for their existence. They always struggle. And without their story, I cannot make any film. So that way, till now, I have made films in different dialects. Initially, I started with the mainstream Assamese language. Later on, I started making films in Boru, in Mising. Then my last film was made in Pangshanpa. That is a language spoken, that is a dialect spoken in the easternmost, that international border of the country, that is Zemithang. It is 100 kilometers away from, from Tawang. So when I'm talking about my people, my land, there are some difficulties, but it is not an easy task to make films in this region. Yes, they are very cooperative. They cooperate like anything. When I made film in Bodo language, it was not very far. The place was very beautiful, good. I think 2 hours away from Guwahati city. So I was thinking initially that this time my at least location is so, nearby. So it will be a very comfortable place to shoot and keep my crew members and all. But it was not that. It was very difficult, in fact, because when I went for Reiki, I was finding that everybody was willing to help me during my shooting time. And they have showed me some places where I can keep the crew members and all. Though it was very difficult to get some guest house. There are none actually. There was only one guest house, government guest house, and it was very difficult to get rooms there. So I had to, make ready one school premises for the people to stay there. Some makeshift arrangement for the toilets and all. And for me, there was a small Hanuman Mandir, small room. I had to stay there for one full month. So these are the initial problems, but my people, my crew members knew that Baidu has come to this place to make a very realistic film, so let us cooperate with her. So it was very good initially. But when I started my shooting there, then I came to know slowly that this area is totally, is full of insurgents. All the villages, the boys from the villages nearby where I was shooting, they either one or two at least from their locality, from their, from their village, some are there in the insurgents, this thing. So that army personnel, one day he came to our location after 2 days or 3 days of shooting. So he came and he was very worried. He said, how can you dare to shoot here? These people, you do not know what they are. You will be attacked at any time. But I was without any police help or any security. I was shooting. I never take any police security and all while I go and to the interiors, and those people are my always, they look after me, the local people. But that army major was so concerned about my and my team security, so he was always there to help me. So he has provided me all the vehicles, all the armed forces, all the weapons which were required for the film, because story was such. But suddenly something happened. There was 4 days left to finish my shoot. Then I came to know, he rang me up from somewhere that some incident took place, some encounter. So I had to vacate the place immediately because he was not there to help me out. So I had to pack up suddenly and came back. I could not go there again. 4-5 sequences were left actually. I could not finish. Later on also I could not go and arrange those shooting. So these are the problems, practical problems when you shoot in the interiors, because this part is like that. You do not know what will come at what point of, from anywhere it may come. That was the insurgent problem. And my second film in other dialect, it was missing. It was month of July in Shivsagar district, Dishangmukh. The Brahmaputra was full of water, and suddenly flood came, and my camp was totally, uh, totally covered by water, and I did not know where to keep my people. So it was in such a situation. There was a small house I hired. My camera and my crew members from Delhi, from Bombay, I had to keep them in a small house, and other crew members were in a school, which was now full of water. So this flood situation was such during the month of July. In the Brahmaputra was full of water, the undercurrent, about Brahmaputra. So these are again that natural challenge I had to cope up. So that was another experience. Then other experience, my last film, Pangshenpa. And you cannot imagine in the month of March that, Sela Pass was full of snow. It was 4 feet, 5 feet, 6 feet like that. That year, it was full of snow. And my crew members, I think 10, 12 vehicles got stuck in that area. And army had to help, but they could not, it took 4 days to reach the destination, to reach the location, because otherwise it takes 3 days. But that time, due to the heavy snowfall, they had to come back to Bomdila again. Then again, they had to start with the help of army. They could reach the location. That way, I lost 4-5 days, and financially how we lose every day. So it was a very tough situation for me. And there again, that accommodation. There is no infrastructure. Not to talk about film shooting, but for normal people, even if you go there is not a single place to stay. So we had to clean up some old abandoned offices which were under during those Assam days. But now Arunachal has their own setup. Those rickety houses we had to clean up, and all the beddings and all I had to carry from Guwahati. For 36 crew members, 36 bedrolls I had to carry from Guwahati. Just imagine the condition. And no fuel, no hospital, and nothing is there. So in that condition, in the border, international border, we had to stay there for more than 30 days. And my camera was on for 29 days, I think. And food was different, fuel was different. And it was a Buddhist area, and there was no non-veg food available. My crew members were very upset because they always wanted to have some non-veg item. So they have to be content with vegetarian food. So those are the things that practical, problems you face, working in those areas. And artists, yes, those kind of artists, when you decide to work in a different dialect, you cannot expect that some professional artist you can carry from Guwahati with you and they will act. It is not possible. So I had to depend on the local people. I had to spot some local faces, bring them, do some workshop, teach them. Those people, they do not even know how to read and write. So those people had to follow the dialects. I had my, of course, language assistant, and she or he will read it out, the dialogues they will memorize, and that way they deliver the dialogues in front of camera. Somehow I found them very good because they are not conscious at all. Once they know their job, once they know their character, they will not even get nervous. They will deliver it so naturally. And I am so happy. If you have seen in the Land of Poisoned Women, those artists were so natural and delivered, portrayed their character so well. I'm so happy with them. And it was Sing Sound because I cannot bring them down to Guwahati for dubbing, and they won't be able to dub even the same dialogues. So that was a very difficult proposition for me financially. But still, I could not take any risks. I had to do Sing Sound for the first time in my film. So these are the practical problems while you make such films. If you want to make a film in original language and original place, then you have to cope up with all kind of difficulties.
Okay, thank you. Very well spoken about the difficulties in shooting a film in the hilly, remote areas of Northeast India. And but to assess and evaluate what is understood as a kind of resurgence of cinemas of Northeast India states, including hills and plains, there are few other things which can be shared by Bitupon Borbora, I think, who is a connoisseur of cinema and related studies. So I asked Bitupon Borbora to go into the details of the nitty-gritty and variety of films made in this region.
Manoj has actually already spoken about the resurgence of Northeastern cinema, despite which I will also endeavor to focus on certain issues which have been noticed in Northeastern cinema in recent days. Earlier, in the entire Northeastern region, we have about 8 states, and out of which only Manipur and Assam was a filmmaking or film producing state. And Assam was the most vibrant in those days, and Manipur joined us in later, much later, I guess. So, as Manu stated earlier, the first Manipuri film is Matangi Manipur. Then in Assam, as you know, that Prasad Agarwala started first Assamese film in 1935. So this is the beginning of both states' cinema history. And as earlier Manipur, as we know, only Oribam Shamsama was a renowned filmmaker whose film had been screened in Cannes Festival as well in 1990. The film is Ishanu, and it was screened in Uncertainty section. So suddenly, in entire northeastern region, in last 10 years, if I cover the whole decade, there's a huge lot of filmmakers coming up in almost every state, be it Nagaland, be it Arunachal Pradesh, be it Sikkim, be it Meghalaya also. Even in places like Nagaland or Meghalaya, where filmmaking history was almost non-existent earlier. So in Manipur, then new breed of filmmakers like Haubam Pavan Kumar came, then other guys like Sanju, whose name is very difficult to pronounce. Sanju, I think, what is his name? Sanju Basras Peti Mayham, I guess.
Pachaspati Mayum.
Peti Mayham, okay. Then Oinam Doran has also come. Then, and as you know, Manipur is a state. I think even incorporated into Assam, the digital filmmaking the process is Brazilian filmmaking activities are very, very vibrant. When I was a member of censor board here, I have noticed that we see almost regularly in every sitting about 10, 12 digital films. Those are produced in Manipur. So even in entire Northeastern states, Manipur is the only place where they make lot of digital films, all genres. There are many films. I mean, those are very violent kind, very graphical violence they include also. But then there are many films where we can see the, I mean, the aesthetic quality of very uh, final type into that. Haribam Hariki, Haubab Pavan is one recent example whose film has already traveled many international film festivals. And also his documents are also, I mean, very acclaimed across the globe. So let me, I mean, toss the name of a few of the filmmakers. Those are emerging in almost every state of Northeast. In Sikkim, it is Tribeni Rai, Anjan Siring, Ajay Kumar Pradhan, and Dipankar Ratna Shaikha and Abhishek Chetri. In Arunachal Pradesh, the Sanjay Darji Sarjadri Thongdak. Actually, we all know him very shortly. He's popular as Sanjay Darji, but he has another kind of Sanjay, full name is Sanjay Darji Thongdak. And he was a pass out from SRFTI. And his first film, Crossing Bridge, when we saw it many years back, we were surprised for its original quality, its aesthetic fidelity, and everything. So he's the one of the very renowned filmmaker coming out from Arunachal Pradesh. Besides who there is another senior filmmaker who has already made 8 features. His name is Darje A. Thagun. And there is another young filmmaker who is also, I mean, active in organizing film festivals as well as I think he runs a film society. His name is Moji Riba. In Nagaland, as you know, this Kevin Sobe is one and Sophie Lasuf is another filmmaker. But in Nagaland, in recent times, many young filmmakers, those are making mostly documentary films are also coming up. And I have seen a very interesting animation filmmaker made by a Naga youth sometime back in International Film Festival of India as well. So they are into all the genres and they are making interesting films. I know again I remember watching a film on breeding in hill areas. That was also from Nagaland. Then Meghalaya in recent times, two of the young filmmakers, not only they made very interesting films, but also already they have made huge name in entire globe. The one name that comes to mind is Pradip Purva. His first film, Onta itself, was a very noticeable film. Then his recent film, Ledu, is acclaimed almost across the globe. Then there are another young filmmaker, Damnit Samma. He is also a pass out from SRFTI. He's the Debu Fisher. The Mama also doing very well across the international arena, and many of the film festivals screen his film as well. Then there is another filmmaker from Meghalaya. His name is Simi Kangtiang. He's also making very interesting films. In Manipur, as you know, I have told, and Manu also spoken about Aribam Sham Sharma, Hawab Pavan Kumar, Dr. Pradambi is doing very fine, who is also won in Mami International Film Festival. Then there is another filmmaker I know personally also, the Makhon Lal Mungbasa. Then Sanju, I told you, he also my batchmate in FTII. Well, we are doing our film appreciation course in 1986. Then another, the Oinam Dharan is a recent young filmmaker. He is also very promising in Manipur. And there is another very interesting filmmaker. He is emerging in a state called Mizoram, where you'll be surprised that there is no film culture as such. There is no cinema hall, but he has made a very interesting film, at least 4 or 5 years back, the Kwanglu Gran, which has been doing very well. That was very popular across the festival circuit as well as popular, catered to popular taste as well. And that is actually a very interesting historical film about Mizo, society itself. So his name is Mapuya Songtho. He's a self-taught filmmaker, and he's, I think, very promising. Only thing is that he's, facing a lot of constraints to get fund for his kind of film he wanted to make. That is the problem, because the film, mostly his audience love to see the Hollywood kind of movie, action-packed movie, and he's, almost helpless as to how to make a quality film. But those who have watched Fanglong One, they can see that his aesthetic sense is very refined and he can make great films. In Assam, as you know, after Janubura, many filmmakers emerged like Sanjeev Hazarika, Bidyut Chakraborty, Manju Bora, then Bobby Sharma Barwa, and thereafter came this new breed of filmmakers, Rima Das, whose film, as you know, The Village Doctors and other filmmakers already doing very good across international film festivals. This Rima Das Village Doctors also backed the Charna Kamal in 2018. Then there are other filmmakers, those are emerging in Assam, is like Utpal Barbudari, who was earlier a colleague of Fipresci here, and he is now making films. His first film has bagged a national award for best children film issue. Then Deep Chaudhary also, he bagged a Indira Gandhi award for best debut film for Leah. Then Suresh Dwara Orang also bagged Rajat Kamal for a best Rava film. Then Hemanto Das, his Othello also bagged Rajat Kamal for best Assamese film. Another guy, Manjul Borua, is Kanin and Antorin. Both are doing fine. Then Joy Singh Joy Dahotia Handuk also bagged a very interesting award in Jio Mami Festival. Then Konkon Deka is also an emerging filmmaker. He made a very brave film sometime back, 2-3 years back. The Beautiful Lives. It's about a physically disabled person who suffered previous injury in a bomb blast in Ganeshgiri of Guwahati city, and basically he covers the life after the agony the protagonist faces in his later life. Then another young filmmakers, Bhaskar Hazarika, his Kothanadi and Amish, both are doing very fine. Kothanadi bagged national award. Amish also bagged many interesting awards across India. And there are many other filmmakers like Julan Krishna Mohanto, the Kenny Bosumotari. They are also doing very fine. They are very promising in that sense. In this scenario, this is very noticeable that we have got a lot of constraints in northeastern states. In Assam also, we have our film, cinema halls are dwindling on every day. Now, I don't know what will be the scenario after this corona disaster goes. But I think only now Assam, I guess, only 60 film cinema halls are almost, those are active. But there are many states like Manipur also, there is no cinema hall. In Arunachal Pradesh, no cinema hall. In Nagaland, there are few cinema halls in Dimapur. But otherwise, to market their cinema in Assam, it is very difficult because we have no market as such for our kind of cinema, the kind of cinema, the aesthetically sound cinema our filmmakers look out for making. This is why I think the OTT platform has come as a boon, and I think our filmmakers will explore these means to continue with making their quality films. Recently, from government side in Assam as well as Manipur, the governments are coming forward to help our filmmakers. Maybe I will touch on that aspect on later. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bitupan. You spoke very well about the total picture in filmmaking of the region. And now I invite Meghachandra Kongbam, who is at the forefront of Film Society movement and also in dissemination of film education in Manipur. Certainly, you are in a position of observing and analyzing the development of vibrant filmmaking scenario in your place. And so, how do you judge or see the evolving digital film culture in Manipur?
Right. So we will give a picture of this Manipur film tradition. The legacy of Manipur cinema had struggling past with commitment to the modern era of these challenges and development. When the Indian cinema was 6 decades old, Manipuri cinema was born. In the year 1972, on 9th April, director is Devakumar Bose and the film is Matangi Manipur. At the time, we engaged with technicians and equipment from the Kolkata, even the director too. And with this collective efforts of those Manipuris who were prominent in the field of this art and culture, theater, literature, and music, they made a great film, and that film got the President's Silver Medal in the 20th National Film Awards, and it does Manipur cinema received the national recognition just when it was born. In a decade, Manipur cinema made the nation's pride and got international recognition when even Sam Sharma's Imagining Camp, My Son, My Pieces, bagged the Grand Prix in the competition of internet and competition section of the Festival of Three Continents in Nantes in the year 1982. Thus, Imagining Camp became the first and only Indian film to receive the top prize in the Nantes. The film traveled around the globe, participating in many major festivals. Then after that, arrived Sam Sharma again. His film Isano, Chosen One, produced in the year 1990, was the official selection of Uncertain Regard of the Cannes International Film Festival in 1991 and participated in many major international festivals. Thus, it proved the potentiality of Manipuri cinema in the international arena. In a span of 25 years of Manipuri cinema, that is up to 1997, Manipur produced only 28 feature films. Out of the 28 feature films, 9 films had won the national awards, which shows that every third film produced in Manipur had won a national award. And in the beginning, S.N. Chan, then Arivan Sam Sharma, G.C. Tongra, M. Nilamani Singh, L. Bankar Sharma, M.A. Singh, F.T.I.I. graduate, G. Narayan Sharma, K. Hol Sharma, and Sankai Gautambi were the top bearer of the Manipuri cinema. The second generation of the Manipuri cinema started in the year 1990. During the period, Manipuri cinema had its own technicians, equipment for pre-production, and only the processing part was done outside Manipur. A group of talented, energetic filmmakers, including R.K. Kripa, Oken Amaksam, L. Suryakanta, Chandun Samacharan, Chan Hisram, Vishwamitra, Kishore Kumar, M.K. Jit, Thongamba Thogamba, Makumani Mongsawa, K. Bimol Sharma became prominent in the second generation. The period of 1990s and the early part of 2000s was the glorious period of Manipuri cinema for its commercially viable. Manipuri audience could also see at least a new Manipuri film every year. And in the years 2001 and 2002 had achieved production of 7 films each. The state government earned more than rupees 1 crore per year as revenue from the entertainment tax from around 60 cinema halls in the state. Thus, Manipur became the leading state producing films in Tibeto-Burman language in India, where the films are mainly made in 3 major language groups, namely Indo-Aryan, Dravidian, and Tibeto-Burman languages. When the advent of the cable TV and the video led to the closure of the cinema halls in India in the latter part of 1980s, the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting constituted a high-powered committee on the problems of film industries on 14th February 1989, and the 20 recommendations concerning to state governments were sent to every state for implementation. Indian film industry being the 9th biggest industry in India, the government of India had announced film as industry on 10 March 1998. The then Union Minister Sushma Swaraj also wrote to the Chief Minister of Manipur in a letter dated 20th March 1998 for recognition of film as industry. The then film bodies like all Manipur Film Producer Association, the Artists and Technician Association Manipur had demanded implementation of the recommendation of the Government of India as well as recognition of the film as industry in Manipur. The state government did not take up any positive action. Meanwhile, Manipur cinema met a major crisis in the exhibition sector in 2000. On 12 September 2000, a militant group had imposed a blanket ban of screening Hindi films in cinema halls and video parlors against the alleged custodian death of its member in the hands of the army. The cinema halls, which were survived on Bollywood movies, were closed one after another. The state government did not take up any appropriate measure for survival of cinema in the state. Had there been the timely implementation of the recommendation of the Government of India, timely announcement of film as industry in the state, timely announcement of state film policy, the crisis in Manipur cinema will not happen. Meanwhile, in violation of the Manipur Cinematograph Rules 1955 as well as against the recommendations of the Government of India for the survival of this film industry, the state government had allowed the screening of the video films certified by the Central Board of Film Certification in the cinema halls with effect from May 2002 as an interim measure, which is not done for survival of the cinema halls. This practice of screening video films in the theaters, which is not done anywhere in the country, is known as the digital film culture in Manipur. This is misnomer. Neither the theaters were equipped with digital technology, nor the films shown in the theater were certified by CBFC as digital. Consequently, now there is no any digital cinema hall. That is the cinema hall equipped with digital technology in the state, except that of state-run Manipur State Film Development Society auditorium. This is the fate of Manipuri film industry. Despite this hurdle, filmmaker like Hobam Pawon Kumar, SRFTI graduate, my Paksana Horumbam, Dr. Bhupen Hazarika Film Institute graduate, Vinam Gautam, Ajit Tumnam, and others emerged in the third generation. Hobam Pawon Kumar's Loktak Larambi met in 2016, became the first digital film certified by the CBFC, which won the National Award as well as the Golden Gateway in the Jio Mami Mumbai Festival. The film had its world premiere in Pakistan and travel around the globe. As per CBSC, there was no production of Manipuri film in the year 2017. The year 2018 witnessed 3 digital films, of which Magi Matam Bhakta, directed by Dr. Makumani Moskhaga, made its entry in Bangalore International Film Festival and the Third Eye Asian Film Festival in Mumbai. The year 2019 had witnessed more than 10 digital films gaining its momentum in the production sector. The film Pandamamada, directed by Oinam Gautam, had its world premiere in the Dhaka International Film Festival 2020 and also screened at the Third Eye Asian Film Festival. Akuisibo Kanano, directed by Ajit Lumna, participated in the Jaipur International Film Festival 2020. In the span of 5 decades, Manipur's cinema bagged 38 National Film Awards, 17 in feature films, 18 in non-feature films, and 3 in writing on cinema. Bearing the torch of the new era of Manipuri cinema by this present generation, this film journey still goes on. This is the picture of the Manipuri film tradition leading to present scenario. Thank you.
Thank you, Kungbam. You have given a very vivid picture of Manipur film scene. Now we will hear Hobam Pawan Kumar, who is distinguished by his powerful presentation of harsh realities while he tries to mingle fiction and documentary styles creatively. Habam will, I hope, throw some light on the reasons and the driving force behind his cinematic efforts. Habam,
Thank you, Manoj. Can you hear me?
welcome. Yeah,
Yeah.
hearing you. It's okay.
Okay, Manoj, coming to your question, I think documentary comes very naturally to me. I think documentary comes really naturally to I think everybody in this region who comes from this region. Though initially, I never knew what documentary was when I came into film. It was all about feature films. But then, as I entered the filmmaking world, as I went for studies, I realized the importance of documentaries, and automatically coming from this region, there are so many problems in this region. When I started making films, it was in the year 2000, I think 2000, yeah, around that time I started assisting Aribamji, and I started doing documentaries. So it was about telling stories about myself, and I had consciously made this decision, when I came out of the institute to, to do something different also, because Aribam was a big name that time, and whenever someone does anything in Manipur, people will start comparing it with him, and then I started looking at myself to know myself, what is my background, and what kind of films should I make. And so documentaries came naturally to me. And it was also about knowing Manipur, the harsh realities of Manipur. When I met AFSP in 1958, and when it was screened in Mumbai International Film Festival, a lot of people came to me and said, this is the first time that we are actually seeing, the problem of Northeast in cinema for the first time. So it was I think it was this reality that which I carried forward. And when I made my first fiction feature film, Lady of the Lake, uh, being having a documentary background, and always looking for a realistic kind of approach, and also being a film student, I want to play around with the form. I'm always fascinated by cinematic languages, how to tell stories differently. That's why I said documentary comes to me naturally, is documentary, for you are doing when we are doing a documentary, every subject decides how to go about it, the treatment, so the documentary that way is quite interesting. I mean, when I'm doing another film, so the subject decides what kind of narrative it should, take. So it's not like fiction where, there is so much limitation, but I wanted to bring that element into fiction also. That's why when I planned my first feature film, I wanted to do it the way I have been doing documentaries, and also in a very cinematic way, using the language of cinema. So probably that's why, and plus, I can never escape the harsh reality of this region. And when I did my first fiction film, it was also about the the developmental activities happening in Northeast India right now. Also, today I was editing. I'm doing a documentary on Aribam Shamsarma. So I was looking at his. I had done the final cut, so I was looking at it again, and we had this webinar. One thing which I really like about Aribam nowadays, we really talk about blending of documentary and fiction as a modern approach. A lot of people talk about that. And when I saw the footages of Isano, when I was going to the footages of Isano, I think Aribamji has done that long time back in Isano, So, but coming back to my vision of fiction and non-fiction is I think it's the way people see it. I mean, for me, it's both the ways. It's a very realistic approach that I always take when I do a fiction, or either a fiction or a non-fiction. But as I said earlier, what attracts me to documentary is, the kind of treatment. In fiction there is a lot of limitation while doing the treatment of a film. So carrying forward the things that I have been doing in documentary, every film I have done, every documentary that I have done, the approach has been very different. AFSP 1958, I think, was a very different kind of film. Mr. India was a very different kind of film. And when I made the first leap on the cinematic journey of Manipuri cinema, making of the first Manipuri film, it was also, these kind of approaches. So when I reach my destination, I mean, when I was planning to do my fiction film, Lady of the Lake, what happened was I went to the lake to do the recce of my feature film. So that time I realized that I have to really do a proper research. So instead of making a feature film, I made a documentary before that, and that is Fumsang, or Floating Life. It took me 3 years. So actually, my feature film got delayed for 3 years because I was doing the documentary. But it really helped because of my approach. I mean, I wanted real people to act in the film, and I wanted real locations. And so what happened was, so finally, when I made the feature film, the journey that I took as a documentary filmmaker, that really helped. I won the confidence of the local people there, and they were ready for the fiction. I mean, they were already, you can say that they were already in front of the camera. And so when I shot my feature film, it was very, it became very natural for them, and they were not bothered about the camera at all. And also, technically what I did was, usually when you do a documentary, you work with a very small crew, right? So even for my feature film also, I continued that pattern. And so we had, I think, hardly around 5 people during the whole shoot, and it was in the middle of the lake. I think that's what it is, Manoj. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Havam, for your very elaborate views on your style of filmmaking. Now we will hear Pranjal Bora, who has been keenly observing recent trends in world cinema and regional cinema as well. As example, I would say he has talked about films from Meghalaya, films by Pradeep Purba, Dominic Sangma, who have addressed issues like insurgency, gender, struggle of lower classes, loneliness, through the language of cinema with deep aesthetic meaning and philosophical tone. Pranjal.
Thank you, Manojda. I just hope I am audible to you because my
Yes,
video
yes.
seems to be a little bit problematic.
No,
Am
we
I
are
audible?
hearing you perfectly. Yes, audible.
Thank you, Manojda. Before proceeding further, I think it is imperative on my part to make some sort of general observations about what these prodigious filmmakers from Northeast are exactly going about, the kind of narratives they are churning out, the qualities they epitomize, and so on. So here are some of my observations. Most of these prodigious filmmakers, have come up with film narratives which are rich, diverse, and often experimental cinematic narratives in structure and content. I'm sure you would hardly disagree with me. Then, of course, the socio-political, economic, and cultural milieus often creep into the narratives as a readily tangible leitmotif. Personally, in all of their films, you find this tendency at varying degrees. And of course, this is very promising, and I would love to share with you, and I'm sure you'll be at one with me. Virtually all of them have a well-defined film sense and a fairly well-defined film perspective, which is pretty crucial. and then very often they have an innovative and tight sense of scripting that paves the way for highly suggestive storytelling in an acceptable film language. I won't say the film language they use is always excellent, but it is always acceptable, and absolutely no doubt about it. Then, of course, all of them seem to have a penchant, seem to have an intent for acquisition of good command over the film aesthetics and language. And as a result, what we find in their films, very often suggestive, evocative cinematography, content and essence-driven editing techniques, spiffy and meaningful sound design, quality acting, of course. These are some of the trademarks, hallmarks that are so prominent in their narratives. Then, of course, a readily palpable tendency to weave a cinematic narrative, which is minimalist in gimmicks but rich in cinematic beauty. Then a conscious endeavor to bring in a flavor of fusion cinema to be commercially viable at times. It doesn't apply to all the filmmakers, but there are certain examples. For example, you can talk about the films of Pradip Kurba, except the last one, then even Bhaskar Hazarika's films, and Himjodi Talukdar's film. They try to bring in some sort of a tinge of fusion cinema. Then last but not the least, this is my observation, most of them seem to show allegiance to independent film movement in their own characteristic ways. I won't say it. They are copying anybody, they are emulating anybody, they are following somebody's footprints. They are curious enough, they are intelligent enough, they are talented enough to indigenize their stuffs, their perspectives, their film sense. And precisely when we talk about the contemporary Northeastern cinema, we talk about these particular qualities. And of course, if I focus on the cinema of Meghalaya, the Christian cinema of Meghalaya also epitomizes this particular scenario. Coming back to what I am supposed to share with you today, probably after Pawan House, Lady of the Lake, and Rima Das's Village Rockstars, the two other films which have taken the cinematic world by storm are paradoxically, interestingly, and should I say, pleasingly from the cinema of Meghalaya. Yes, you are right. I am talking about two films. The first by Mama by Dominic Sangma and Ludo by Pradip Kurba. When we talk about the cinematic scenario, cinematic domain in the cinema in Meghalaya, the things that, or rather the general observations that I have made, aptly and tangibly apply to their cinematic prowess, cinematic creations. For example, Pradip's recent film Ludo, which has made us proud by grabbing a number of international accolades and grabbing a lot of accolades from both critics and connoisseurs, is a very interesting film. It's a very well-knit, reflectively made film based on the lives of Meghalaya, Shillong especially, against the backdrop of Ludo, which is a famous marketplace, popularly known as Bora Bazar. Okay. Then what about the essence of this a film like Ludo? It is a deceptively simple film. It's a deceptively simple film which amalgamates, which juxtaposes in itself a number of mutually connected stories from the lives of characters who inhabit that particular place, the hopes and aspirations of their life, their modus vivendi, the many subtle challenges they have to encounter in their life. And all these are depicted in such a beautifully woven and beautifully neat cinematic narrative. And then again, the kind of aesthetics that he used in that particular film, the narrow lands, the noisy atmosphere of that particular marketplace are so beautifully captured. I mean, it must have been a formidable challenge for the filmmaker to capture the hues of that particular bustling market. And also the beauty of sing sound, which is being so beautifully, so effectively used that particular film. What I'm trying to impress upon you, I'm trying to impress upon you the kind of beauty, the kind of cinematic prowess that is so prominent in the works of these particular filmmakers, Pradeep Kurba, Dominic Sangma. Dominic Sangma, for example, he took a life out of his own life to celebrate a film which has become some sort of a history. You know that it has become part of a history. Then, of course, there is another film by Pradeep Kurba, Anata. It is apparently about the rehabilitation of a rape survivor. But in the process, he brought in so many beautiful layered leitmotifs into action. For example, he captured the pristine beauty of hitherto unknown Meghalaya's rural landscape. And he juxtaposed it, he wove it into his main narrative in such a beautiful way. And of course, the last one, Nicholas's film Akuni, which is doing the rounds, which is grabbing a lot of acknowledgement these days, and it talks about the quintessential northeastern experience in big cities in India, that quintessential racism, and of course the prejudices that we have on the basis of gender, caste, religion, backgrounds, geography, and all. And in fact, he even hints at the kind of cognitive unconscious prejudices that people have. Such a beautiful film. I mean, and he has handled this milieu so well. So I'm very much optimistic about the future of the cinema of Meghalaya. I'm very much optimistic about the future of the cinema of Northeast. In fact, I remember Manoj Da was the first to raise a pertinent question about the emergence of a renaissance in the domain of Northeastern cinema. Then Bitu Ponda joined hands with him, and we also followed their footprints. And I seriously claim, and all the epoch-making developments that are taking place in the contemporary domain of Northeastern cinema constantly coax me into claiming that yes, there is definitely a renaissance in the offing. And I am sure you would not disagree with me.
Thank you, Pranjal, for your very eloquent speech. And now I will turn to Manju again. As you know, there are quite a lot of bottlenecks in filmmaking she or he has to face, and after a film is ready for distribution, particularly. Now, what are those bottlenecks? How do you try to overcome them, and what are the solutions and prospects in view of all the disadvantages a serious filmmaker faces in this region? And since there is another part of the question, I would like, because time is running out, since OTT platforms are opening up now, do you have any experience in it, and how do you view the scope in it? Manju Bora, please. Did you hear? Hello? I'm not hearing you. Hello? Your audio is missing, Manju Bora. Hello? No.
Hello.
Hello. Yes. Hearing now?
Can you see me now?
Yes.
Can
Yes.
you hear me?
Yeah. It's perfect now. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Did you hear my question? I have shown to you.
Yeah, I did.
All
But
right.
my
All
video
right.
is not coming, I think. My
Oh.
video is not coming.
No, we are finding you.
Now it is
We
okay.
are seeing you. It's okay.
I don't know. Anyway, actually, you are talking about the bottlenecks of distributing
Right.
films and releasing
Yes.
films. Actually, in regional film industry, it is always a problem how to do the marketing of a film. In my case, it was so difficult. My initial 6 films, not to talk about Boibhav. Boibhav was so difficult. Only 9-10 persons were there as audience in the cinema halls. It was such a tragic experience in my life. And Gautam Ghosh, when I met him during that Boibhav days, he was telling me, Manju, don't get disheartened. These things happen. So you don't lose your distinct spirit. You keep on making films, and initially these things happen. So I did not stop. Actually, I made a series of films till now. You have seen. And initial periods, well, the distributors here, they are only for mainstream films, be it Hindi or English or some commercial films. They do not care for art house, so-called art house films. So it was a very difficult experience for me, very sad actually. Then after this, I got nine. After that film, I stopped releasing my films, and from Koyad days, I did not release my films in the theaters because I had to depend on the OTT platform. Either OTT platform has come now, but the other private channels or Doordarshan like that. Luckily, most of my films got received national awards. So in the Delhi Doordarshan, I got releases. I got release of those films, and somehow my at least 70% of my cost of the film came back. So it was like that. Indirectly, I made up my financial this thing, but the spirit was never gone. And now this OTT platform has come, but still I feel that to get the connection with Netflix or Disney or all those platforms are very difficult, because there are, you need a good middleman who can look after your film, who can market your film. But this way I'm very unfortunate somehow. Recently movie has taken two of my films. I'm happy because that way I'm getting some good international viewers, some good reviews are coming, and I'm so relaxed and happy now. Because even the new generation I have seen, they are exploring these OTT platforms like Netflix and Eros and all. Some of the Assamese films, when I see in Netflix, I feel very good. But I do not know the production side. Are Netflix coming to produce some films in this part of the country? Are Reliance and other those big companies, the production companies, are coming to finance our boys and our makers? Because new generation, you have seen, you have already, Bitupon has mentioned the new generation filmmakers. More than 10 boys and girls are there who are really good. With proper backup, with proper financial aid, they can make very good films, world class films. So I'm waiting that some good production companies will come and finance and produce some films in this part of the country. And I'm very sure that these boys, these makers will make good films. Why not? So personally, I am very uh, unhappy that that our films are not getting the proper platforms, proper. Yes, festivals, they are roaming around. A lot of films are going to different festivals, but festivals critically, we are getting some appreciation, but not financial aid. So I want that some good production companies will come here and produce some good films with our new generation filmmakers. That is my only hope now.
Thank you, Manjubara. You have raised a very pertinent point to discuss, actually, and it also points to the need of film policy and backing from the state government. So, Assam and Manipur of late have formulated their own state film policies. So, now I want to deliver something about these film policies from Bitupon Barbara. So, do you think that these policies declared by Assam and Manipur, which may be still in notification stage, would be will they be capable of bringing a paradigm shift in cine literacy and film culture as a whole? Bitupon.
Before making my observation about the film policies, particularly already Manipur and Assam government has kind of announced their draft policy. I think Manipur, I don't know about the Manipur film policy. It is in the notification is issued on 29th May 2020. But before making those points, let me clarify one thing. While I was making observation about the emerging filmmakers from northeastern states, many names are kind of missed out, and it is not intentional, and it is difficult to cover because often we cannot see many of the films. Those are made in Nagaland. Even I have not yet seen any of the films, particularly feature films. Those are made in Nagaland. I could see only Sengedurji's film and Haubam's film. I am yet to see Prodip Kuba's film. I am yet to see Dominic's film. I have watched. Then someone asked about the name of Miju filmmaker. His name is Mapuya Swangfu. Mapuya Swangfu is the name. Then someone, pointed out that another young filmmaker from Wangfang K. Dengdo is also making film in Meghalaya. Actually, in our webinar today, Pradip Purvais was about to join, but because of the some constraints in regard to mobile connectivity, he could not join. I think if he joined this conversation, maybe he could have pour light on young filmmakers from Meghalaya as well. Then another filmmaker I have missed, another two filmmakers actually I have missed. Those are actually passed out from film FTII. One is Mouli Senapati. He is now, becoming a film teacher. He has made some remarkable documentaries about many northeastern issues. And another young filmmaker, she is also a pass out from FTII. Her name is Rima Bora. She has made a very interesting debut film called Bokul. This way, I think I may miss other names as well, but please, I beg your pardon because many of the filmmakers I do not know. Many of the films I am yet to see. Now, let me pour some brief light on the film policies of Assam as well as Manipur. I actually, when the Assam film policy was announced, I took offense on the preamble section where, they have said that film is a powerful medium of entertainment, enlightenment, and communication, which has brought a huge socio-cultural transformation in the society, particularly in India. When you, perceive film to be a medium of entertainment or enlightenment or even communication, I think its entire the definition of the film is reduced to a very limited level because film is rather a very strong creative medium of aesthetically sound medium, and in the it said that it kind of there is a definition that it incorporates all the elements of all the art forms without losing its own character. So film is a very, we cannot reduce it to a medium of entertainment, enlightenment, or communication. Film is rather, its definition is very vast. It covers a wide variety of things. Those are highly creative, and it engages many people to, like a cinematographer, a musician, and the director itself, he's the captain of the ship, basically. But other creative artists are also involved in making a film. So it is a very collaborative, creative medium, and its aesthetic possibilities are immense. That part of cinema we cannot ignore. Then in the Assam film policy, the there's a, in Assam we have got this Assam Film Finance Development Corporation. So earlier it used to produce films, but unfortunately most of the films it financed could not garner huge, support commercially as well as critically. So now after this policy, I think there is promise that they will look after those issues. They will, scrutinize script in a better way. They will form committee to look after those issues. That now the latest policy announcement, the Assam State Finance Corporation now says that it shall increase its commercial functions by taking up distribution of government produced films. As Manju Bora had already told that distribution of cinema, or rather release of cinema in Assam is very difficult earlier, particularly regional cinema. There was no strong policy to back regional movie so far its release is concerned, because halls are booked quite ahead of time by major Hindi films mostly, or other Hollywood films, and it is very difficult to get slot right kind of slot. The prime slot is often, I mean, you never get, but you get slot in a very odd time. Mostly those are reserved from regional film. Now this policy says that it will safeguard those interests of regional film. The one of the another aspect of this policy is that Jyoti Chitravan, there is a, I mean, studio in Assam called Jyoti Chitravan. It was, I mean, established in early 70s. Now Jyoti Chitravan says that rental charge of the Jyoti Chitravan will be rationalized so that regional film producers of the state can derive more benefit from the studio. This is one of the key promise. But major thrust of this policy is on subsidy. This was not earlier, I mean, very specific. Now they say that the government will subsidize the regional films after proper selection process. So basically, it says the subsidy from government will be granted to the producers in the form of granting aids for high quality films, science fiction, animation films, children film, or other genres, considering their thrust focus being ethnic culture, land, and people of Assam. Further, ethnic language films are also to be promoted by the government. In the second clause, it says that there shall be a script committee headed by Commissioner and Secretary Cultural Affairs Department, in which Chairman Assam State Film Finance Corporation and Chairman Jyoti Chitrapat will be members. Director Cultural Affairs will be member secretary of the state committee, and one member of the committee shall be from field of literature and two members from field of directions. I mean, take offense of this, I mean, composition of the committee as well, because I think some technical members from film committee should have been included in this committee, besides the members from literature as well as members from film direction, because technical issues of a film is very, very important, film being a technical medium. Then the major clause in terms of subsidy is that for getting subsidy, producers should be a permanent resident of Assam, and depending on the overall production quality, this subsidy will be provided in three different slabs. The quantum of the subsidy will be fixed by committee. It's like 25% total eligible cost to 25 lakhs of film, like this. Another promise of this, because of the distribution constraints or releasing problem, the Assam government now says that it will form a mobile digital movie theater. It will go on from one place to another. Like in Assam, we have got a mobile theater, I mean, culture. So now government says that it will also, besides, I mean, ensuring the releasing part of a film, it will also establish a mobile digital movie theater, which will go from one place to another to screen films. And for daily and compulsory films, it has, I mean, specified that the one prime time show in the theaters, as preferred by the producer, is compulsory for regional film. This is now ensured. The additional show will not require guarantee money. This was our earlier the practice that you have to deposit guarantee money so that during the run of the film. Now it says that additional show will not require guarantee money, but the conditional conditions which can be arranged after mutual discussion between executive and producer. And besides that, if the producer demands more additional shows in the prime time subsequently, then he has to or she has to deposit the guarantee money of 10% only of total sale of 100% occupancy of a theater. This is a very good aspect of this policy. And there are other, I mean, provisions of award to, I mean, encourage the filmmakers. The subsidy also, it says that a subsidy amount of 20% of total eligible cost, the maximum limit of 25 lakhs for a film will be provided by the government. This subsidy will be given to a maximum of 20 films per year. It's very good. If the film gets a national award, this is very interesting. If the film gets a national award, the remaining 75% of the eligible cost will be returned by the government, subject to maximum of rupees 1 crore. Up to 1 crore, one film can get. One producer will be eligible for 2 films only during his entire career. So this is, substantially good, provisions for encouragement of local films. But the costing part will be decided by a government committee according to the rates of duty sector. While Assam film, policy, focus more on subsidy parts, more on the film ensuring the releasing the constraints. The Manipur state policy I like most is because its focus is entirely on different aspects. Because it says the cinema industry in Manipur offers a unique and fascinating story, all the more because it was largely unexpected. Due to its concentration within a limited culture and linguistic domain, the growth of cinema in Manipur faced a series of obstacles. Despite these hurdles, this vital question is how the industry generates various talents that cater to the art of entertainment in our state by crafting self-sufficient market of its own with 100% cost of production covered by domestic revenue. This is very interesting. So the Manipur film policy is very interesting because it focuses on developing the film art, for which the cine cultural policy, it says that it is not impossible to boost the competitiveness of cinema only with financial support. When creativity is lacking, to cultivate and manage creative talents among the cineasts and also to sensitize the general public with a new sensibility of cinema, deep flowing action shall be initiated. For which, Manipur Films State Film Development Society is formed. Besides holding at least 3-4 film festivals, one Manipur State Film Festival, another Manipur International Film Festival, then besides other festivals which will screen local as well as foreign films. The major thrust, as I earlier told, that the major focus of this policy is on academic activities, or rather uh, focusing more on creative part of cinema, the creative aspects of cinema, in which cinema education shall be provided by intervening appropriately. Seminar, conferences, workshops, master classes on cinema shall be organized on regular manner. The history of Manipuri cinema shall be documented. Besides establishing cine archive and museum, cinema library, and screening of regularly world cinema. It has also provisions of honor and awards for films, good films or remarkable films. Besides, while there is no mention about film societies, and there was no representation from film society or any critics in Assam while formulation of Assam state film policy. The Manipur state film policy clearly says that it has a separate provision for separate clause for film societies, in which says that network of film societies, government shall strive to encourage and strengthen the network of film societies and cine clubs for cinema to reach out the masses. It will, encourage, forming of film societies in future. Film societies and cine clubs shall be made partners in organizing festivals, seminar, discourse, appreciation course on cinema. This is a very good point. So, in Kabanchuru, this is what missing. This is what lacking in Assam policy. I think if this could have been incorporated in Assam policy could have been much better. So, in comparison to Assam policy, Assam state film policy, it is a very, highly appreciate this Manipuri state film policy because it focuses on increasing or focusing on developing cine literacy among the masses and to forming of film societies in remote areas so as to outreach people so far, encouraging people to watch better films in coming years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Biruban, for giving a comparative study of the growth film policy from Assam and Manipur. Our time is already over for allotted time. So in that case, we can extend half an hour more because we have already having some questions from participants who have registered. So before going to answering and replying those questions, I would ask the other three participants. First, I would ask to summarize the reply. Megachandra Kongbam, I would like to know what should be the role of the film society and also the government in cinemas of the Northeast, particularly with emphasis on Manipur. Your audio is not coming. Hello.
Okay.
Yeah, it is okay now.
Yeah. Film being the most effective medium of the mass media, which can easily access to the masses around the globe. So it has been treated as the special and the important subject for global harmony and integration. Why have there been many international federations on cinema, namely International Federation of Film Producers Association, set up in 1933 in Brussels, International Federation of Film Society, set up in 1947 in Cannes, International Federation of Film Critics, founded in 1930 in Brussels. These bodies are meant for checking and balancing the purpose of the film medium and to bring the quality cinema, for providing genuine information, education, entertainment to the masses, as well as to promote film culture. Former director of National Film Archives of India, P.K. Nair, once said that there are two strands of film education. One is to provide the education to the filmmakers by the institute, and the other one is to provide the education to the masses about the film. He said that both the education are equally important. Here lies the importance of these film societies and film critics to achieve the goal of film education to the masses. Film Society of Manipur, which I work as a president, and my colleague is Pavan Kumar as secretary is the third oldest film society in the Northeast India, established in 1966. It was before the birth of Manipuri cinema that the Film Society of Manipur had played a great role towards the promotion of good film in Manipur. Some founder members like S. N. San, G.C. Dongbla later came out as filmmakers. With the great support and initiative of our beloved secretary, Mr. Premendra Majumdar, who is the vice president of the FFSI, the Film Society of Manipur, once defunct, has been reactivated with organizing 3-day International Women Film Festival in the last year in Impal in collaboration with Manipur State Film Development Society. Since then, we have organized Tunisian Film Festival, then Bangladesh Film Festival in Impal from the support of the Federation of Film Society of India. And we have monthly screening of critically acclaimed films in association with Manipur State Film Development Society. But Film Society movement only cannot bring a private film industry in North India without collective efforts of all those involved in cinema. We have seen the potentiality of cinema in the Northeast India, comprising of 8 states, and each state has produced its own outstanding films and reached out these films to the international level also. Hence, there is need a strong support from the government to provide services for the film industry in each state. Northeast states has more than 220 ethnic communities having its own beautiful dialect and distinctive way of life. So there are so many unexplored stories in the region which can create more different tastes of Indian cinema in both domestic and global market. Sami Cinema, which started its journey in 1935 as its own film studio, Jyotish Prabhan Studio, set up in 1960, a regional film and television institute set up in 1999, Assam State Film Finance Development Corporation set up in 1974 for the development of the Assam cinema. A new film policy of Assam was also announced last year, and which approved rupees 25 lakh subsidy for a film, which the person cost is rupees 1 crore, and 1 crore reward for the films achieved with National Award and 2 crore award for films nominated for Oscar. Moreover, a corpus fund has been created for the welfare of the artists. So I feel that some state film policy is one of the best film policies in the country, and the policy also emphasizes extending Assami film market in Southeast Asian countries. So Assam has a better position in the film industry. Likewise, every state in the region must have at least its own a good film policy, a film finance corporation, a film studio to make a vibrant film industry for which film bodies in each state have to come forward to reach the goal. Through the medium of the film, one can project one's identity, culture, and besides providing large employment to the youth. In the larger interest, a powerful film body of the Northeast region may also be formed for helping each other to bring a vibrant film industry in the region. Once Ministry of Information Broadcasting organized biennial conference of information ministers of states and union territories. It was a good and great platform for discussion of the problems and the development of various media, including films of each and every state and union territories. Now it is must to make a pressure to the ministry to continue the biennial conference so that overall growth of the quality cinema can be brought about in India. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Kungbam, for throwing some light on the prospect of film policy that can be played in near future. And now I would ask one question to Hawam. As a matter of fact, there are quite a few gifted filmmakers who are self-taught, but at the same time, film learning in established film institutes have also played a valuable part in terms of training the film minds, able minds. With a film institute background, can you explain or throw some light on this issue about the importance of film learning?
Manojda,
Yeah.
well, I'm a believer of film education. I waited for 6 years to go to the film school. It might not happen, but luckily after 6 years, I got to go to the film school. I tried for, I gave exam for three years, but there was a lot of 0 years, and finally I got after waiting for 6 years. But in between, I was already assisting Aribamji, and as I said, I'm editing a film on Aribam Sam Sarma, and it's very nice that he said he also learned filmmaking during the making of Matamgi Manipur, the first feature film of Manipur. So somehow or the other, you have to learn filmmaking. It's a very technical medium, and you have to learn it. Maybe nowadays things are changing. The medium has, the language has evolved, and it's a whole new medium. So maybe when I was in the why I particularly wanted to go to the film school was I was very fascinated by the cinematic language, and during my time we hardly main thing was also about watching movies, and film school were the place where you can watch movies. Nowadays, you can watch movies, at home, and that is also one way of doing it. And but I definitely am a believer of film education, and I can see that change, that thing happening in Assam. I think I was with Manjuti, maybe couple of years back on one of the festivals in Assam. And I said this. Utpal was saying, Utpal Bod Pujari was telling me that Manipur is doing excellent work in cinema. I said you should look to Assam in the next few years because the Assam Institute. I think if you look at the last couple of films, and filmmakers, Suraj, Jaichang, even the technical people like this Amrit Pritam, everybody is from film school there, and I know I have been in touch with all these young filmmakers, and they know the whole, they are aware about what is happening in the world, and I think that is majorly because of the film school. and that is really helping the region. I mean, earlier it was, it's also helping in a way about the marketing part of filmmaking also, because being film education, getting film education is not just about learning the craft, but also about knowing the trait of filmmaking. And this, I think, a lot of these new filmmakers, they know how to market their films. I'm particularly more interested in independent cinema, and so how we can somehow, how we can at least survive. I mean, I don't know much about how the commercial aspect of cinema can handle our kind of film, but I think we, as a filmmaker, as a film producer, director, I'm keen to get back my money back, so that at least I can make my next film. And luckily, my film, when I did my feature film, I realized that. I mean, while doing documentaries, it was mostly funded by television, and some of them were self-funded. But when I made my first feature film, I had to get back my money. I mean, I invested quite a lot of money. I mean, it's not a huge money for other maybe for others, but it was quite a lot from my own pocket. So I think for me, festivals help get the money back. I mean, it's being screened. I think having screened it in Berlin, Netflix automatically took it. So all this, I think, going to co-production market in NFDC, all these ideas, all these things came from the film school, and I think it really helped. And a lot of people from Northeast now. Even Dominic is my junior, from Meghalaya. Then Sange, they're from SRFTI. Ashok Villu is one filmmaker a young chap from Manipur. So a lot of people are actually going to film school. I think probably during my time it was a bit difficult. I mean, probably it was like I went to the film school after a gap of 15 years. So because my previous senior was Deepak Roy, who was a sound engineer, and I went to the went to the film school after 15 years. And also, this whole thing about the revival of film society movement in Manipur, and all this knowledge. I mean, we got together, Megachandra ji, and we got together and revived the whole thing, because we really believe that this is also one way of learning films. I mean, and educating people, and also the watching, and I think this is the best way of learning films. So this idea of whole film society movement, all this, when you go to institute, you learn all this, and definitely it's helping the young filmmakers. And one more thing also, I mean, you also belong to a certain community. If you belong to a film school, there is a certain community, and that community, you get being part of the community, you also get all those benefits and all those knowledge. Thank you, Manoj.
Thank you, Habam. There are some questions sent by participants. Before answering, I want from Pranjal Bhatt to speak in a very short in his speech about the filmmakers facing problems in spite of getting good platforms through film festivals. What are the problems filmmakers facing from this region, apart from getting this focus and this impetus from the film festivals?
Well, Manojda and all, this is a very significant aspect that you have raised. Actually, see, can we think about the emergence of our new breed of filmmakers like Hawan Pawan Kumar, Pradeep Purba, and those from Assam, since the film festivals? Film festivals are a lifeline for those filmmakers. For our breed of filmmaking is the sanctum sanctorum for them, for us. If at all we have to survive, we need platforms like the film festivals. But the $1 million question that confronts us today is, is it going to be tenable? Is it going to be plausible given the present scenario? So it's been $1 million question. There has been a feud between the traditional filmmaking schools and the critics and the emergence of OTT platforms and all. Now, we are in a catch-22 situation at this particular juncture. What I feel about the imminent future is that we have no option but to adapt to the emerging nature of OTT platforms. If at all we have to be viable in market in the sense, of course, in Pawan's sense also, if at all we have to get back the money that we put in our production, we will have to adapt to the grim reality of OTT platforms. Now there are certain very interesting but staggering and dismal, statistics for us. See, we are into the 4th month of COVID-19 lockdown. And during this particular period, there has been an unprecedented surge in the viewership of OTT platforms. Okay, but are we sure? Are we safe for certain that certain very significant creations from our Northeast have got the limelight? Are marveling over the emergence of a very significant chunk of viewership? As far as my knowledge goes, no. Perhaps Akhuni is the only exception, which was among the startbusters for a while on Netflix. The rest are struggling. Be it the films of Rima Das, be it the films of Pradeep Kurbas, Onata was there on Netflix. It is not there now. Then there is another very significant film from Northeast, which unfortunately went not unnoticed when it got released. Three Smoking Barrels. It's been there on Netflix, but not getting significant viewership. Then there are some very important films on OTT platforms like Movie Saints. But as far as I know, only Amich and Bornoti Bhotia are garnering a little bit of success. The rest are struggling. They're gasping for breath. So now this is a question for us. This is a challenge for us. How we ensure that our prodigious filmmakers, our talented filmmakers survive. How we can help them keep afloat. And this is $1 million question for us. We need to do something. We need to capitalize on the prospects of OTT platforms. Now, another question that confronts us is whether the kind of films that we make, that we churn out, fit into that particular criteria. We should never be under the impression that the OTT platforms will be bored by any sense of social consciousness. They will feel an inner urge to promote our culture, our issues, and all. And now, how will you woo them? How will you get into that cauldron? Now, this is something we need to focus on. This is something we need to reflect on. And a concerted effort is required. Of course, government's effort is required. Our effort is required. The effort of the film society is of utmost importance. And whether we survive this particular renaissance, whether we can carry forward with it, depends on how we adapt to that scenario. But I can tell you one thing for certain, that the future of entertainment, the future of cinema is heading towards an extremely AI-dominated milieu, whether we like it or not. If at all we have to survive, we must adapt to that. This is all I want to share with you. I don't know whether you will be at one with me, but this is my personal take. After having studied the entire scenario, this is what has occurred to me. If at all we have to survive, we will have to adapt to that. In one form or the other, of course.
Okay, thank you, Pranjal, for your thoughts on the latest scenario developing.
Please take up the questions.
Pardon? Yeah. I am now taking up questions now, and we all have to answer very briefly because there are a lot of questions. And the first question I'm putting here is from Madhu Arabankara, who asks that steering from Jaimoti, Assamese cinema has a strong connection with its literature. What is the contemporary state of Assamese cinema with respect to adaptations from literature? I think that Manju Bora can be the right person to reply this question.
Actually, now you see, time is changing. Viewership is also so different. Nowadays, the new generation viewers, I don't think they care for literature anymore. They want some very crisp, very slick films. what they want to enjoy, within a short period of time, like 90 minutes maximum, because they are restless now. They cannot continue, because if you make a film based on a novel or something like that, it tends to be very long and very narrative, that kind of thing. So I think now those kind of, dialogue-based films are over for the new generation, I feel. So they need some kind of, technically very slick, something very different subjects, nowadays. After seeing all these web series and the Netflix films, anybody knows what kind of films the viewers want these days. Pranjal was very right, in fact, saying, observing few things. I support you, Pranjal.
Thank you, ma'am.
Viewership is changing. Yeah.
Thank you. Next question is from Nigamantha Manu Chakraborty, who asks that, could we have some reflections on films made in Tripura? I have watched a couple of them thanks to Mr. Joseph, who was associated with them. I think Pranjal Bora can go to this question. Pranjal.
Well,
films from
sorry,
Tripura.
Manojda, I am not really well versed with the films from Tripura, but I have come to learn that some significant headway is being made in Tripura also. But to be very honest and candid, I'm still in the dark about the kind of significant developments which might be taking place in the domain of cinema in Tripura. I think Bitubonda could be the right person to address this issue.
No, I know only one filmmaker from Tripura. He was making some remarkable films many years back. Joseph Polintanath. Manu Chakraborty said about him as well. But for reasons best known to him, he stopped making films after making 2-3 films. And present breed of filmmakers, if any of them coming up in Tripura, I don't know about that.
Okay, thank you. So there is another question from Madhu Ravankara, who asks, can somebody highlight the state of mainstream cinema in the Northeast? Are they the prototype of Hindi or Bengali mainstream cinema? So I think Megasandro can reply this question.
Yeah.
Are the mainstream films prototype of Hindi or Bengali mainstream films?
Some of the filmmakers, they made the films in the style of this mainstream cinema. So it gives some taste to our people about this mainstream cinema. So after this video films, mostly they met in the line of this the mainstream cinema, and the people are enjoying this type of the films. And earlier also in Manipur, it was in the type of this mainstream cinema that even Sam Sharma made this Walang Thai Wang. It was a blockbuster film in Manipur. It depicted the Bobby Sole in the box office, and this film ran 32 weeks. This is the mostly the longest running film in Manipur. So the people, this filmmaker, they adopt this mainstream cinema, this Bollywood type, or some they took just the style of this Malayalam and this Tamil film also. So make our just masses, our people, they enjoy this type of the film, so that they got the entertainment from this type of these films.
Thank you, Kumbam. There is a question from Prasanta Pujari. How strong is the role of film policy of Assam in the execution of the dreams of young filmmakers? Bitupon can reply, I think.
I have already said that this subsidy part is very important. Besides ensuring the release of film, I think board can substantially help young filmmakers of Assam. Thank you.
Okay, there is a very good question. I think it is for Havam. The questioner is a renowned film critic, Meenakshi Shede. She asks, where do you all mostly raise money for your films? Havam.
I think he already knows it. But yeah, I mean, it's like I'm an independent filmmaker, so I kind of try to get money from everywhere. I'm not, but you know what? I think there is a technique. I mean, technique for every filmmaker because ultimately you have to make films. I mean, so what I usually do is if I don't have money, I go to my friends. I talk to them. I get my friends to do the film together. Maybe one of my friend is having a camera, so you know. So that's how I do it. But I think she's asking the general scenario of this filmmaking in general about filmmaking, producing film in Northeast. I think that way. I think only Assam has somehow. If you say industry, it's only Assam. Otherwise, in Manipur or at least in any other state, I mean, except Assam, it's not very very systematic. I mean, it's all because of the love of cinema that people are making films. I mean, so you can't really say so in a way, what people are doing is because of the new technology. What people are doing is earlier, documentary was the way to express it. Now with the new technology coming, I think people are getting into fiction films. But like me, I mean, people are not very sure how to get their money back.
Thank you, Havam. There is another question from Suresh Gaduka. Uh, he says that we miss dedicated serious filmmakers like B and Sakia. Now we are waiting miracles from once in a blue moon occasion kind of filmmakers. How do sustain the consistency of good films? Manju Bora, can you reply? How can you sustain the consistency of
Actually,
good
you
films?
see, you cannot say that though somebody is making a single film, he is not dedicated to his profession. You cannot say like that, first of all, because everybody is dedicated. Once somebody is coming to this field of work, he or she has some kind of dedication. That is why he or she is coming to work in this field. So dedication is always there. But it is by chance that you get a good producer, some good finance, because it is very difficult to make a film, financially. Everybody knows. Like Pawan is telling that he is an independent filmmaker. Even I am an independent filmmaker. But the problem is with our kind, I mean, my generation filmmakers, we have some kind of problem. Like I cannot edit myself, I cannot run the camera, so I need a bigger team than today's, I mean, new generation's filmmakers. But now these new generation filmmakers, with 2-3 persons, they can complete a film because they do the editing, they do the sound themselves. See, for example, Rima Das. She's such a, I mean, she's an example for new generation filmmakers. She does everything herself. And she has achieved so much. Now she has come to a point that now she can run a very big production. So many people, so many production houses are coming to finance her now. So now this Gaduka's question, I think, how to continue the consistency. Am I right?
Yes, yes,
His question is that. But that way
right.
you see Jahnu Borua. So Jahnu Borua is very lucky to get a producer like Shailadhar Borua. So he was all the time, he was, producing films for him. So he was very fortunate to get a producer like Shailadhar Borua. Then even Bhavendranath Chaikya, with his own, his personality, his capacity, his talents, he could manage NFDC, including NFDC, they have also financed him. So now we are waiting for some kind of production houses. Actually, in Assam, we are lack of that. Except Sholonhar Borua or some very less like nowadays Shankar Goenkaji, he is trying his best to finance, to produce good films. So except these people, I do not think any good production house who is coming up to support these new generation filmmakers. I always dream, I always think that someday some production house will come up. They will produce a series of films with these, I mean, these boys, these girls, they are waiting for getting some little bit of finance. The other day, somebody was telling me, Madam, please just give us 10-15 lakhs. We'll get some good films. So with 10-15 lakhs also, they are dreaming to make a good film. Whereas we cannot. I cannot make a film with a budget of 10-15 lakhs. I cannot. But these new generation filmmakers, they can make, and they are very talented, I'm telling you. All these, I mean, I have a long list of these filmmakers, more than 14, 15 in Assam itself, in Northeast, more than that. And they're so talented, but they're waiting only for 10-15 lakhs in their hand so that they can start there, they can, you know, they can be practically making they'll be able to make a film. So consistency will come from that only. No? You cannot make a film out of nowhere. You need at least a little bit of fund. You need your talent. Talent is everywhere, but who will produce? Who will support financially? That is the main question.
Okay, there is another question for Manjubara, because the questioner who put the question, he mentioned your name. You have to answer that. So the question is, do you think that Northeast filmmakers have a unique narrative technique different from other parts of our country?
No, not exactly. Nowadays, this scenario is changing. Last 5 years or 7 years, we have been watching films very different from the previous films. It is no more like Dr. Bhabendranath Choikia's film. It is no more like Jahnu Barua's film. It is no more like my films even. Because you see, nowadays, this Bhaskar Hazarika, Rima Das, and all these Suraj Duara, Joy Singh, Khanjan Kishornath, I have written their names, Himjyoti Talukdar, Pradeep from Meghalaya, then Pawan, you from Manipur. You all are making making films which are very stylish, very different. It is your own style. It is neither narrative nor, it is very different, in fact, very interesting. So we are very hopeful that it will be no more like those traditional formula kind of films, art house films generally, very slow, very narrative like that. It is changing now.
Okay, Parthasit Morua must have got right answer anyway. So next question is from Rita Datta, who asks, what about the short film scenario? Can Pawan Hawam reply? What about the short film scenario?
I think it's the same everywhere. It's not just about Northeast. I think this. Hello, can you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
No. Hello. No, I'm not getting your audio.
Hello.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Sorry. Got confused. I think the scenario is the same everywhere. But last couple of years, I was lucky to watch a lot of short films from Northeast India. Short in the sense I'm talking about fiction. Like the rest of the country, I think a lot of people here also, especially from Assam, they're making a lot of short films, fiction short films. I'm not talking about documentaries. Documentary short film has really gone down. Earlier, Doordarshan used to commission films and they used to give some money. So short film documentary films used to be there. A lot of people used to make documentaries, but now short fiction films are being made by people who really dream of doing larger, working in a feature film, or so you can, and festivals are also coming in a big way here in this region. So a lot of people are making those films for the festivals also. So it's the same scenario as in the rest of the country. People are making it for festivals and for their personal urge to to show their talent. Otherwise, commercially, there's no place for such kind of films. So it's really difficult. At least documentary has a chance, but short fiction doesn't have any place except for festivals and and showing it in the local channels.
Okay, Habam, can you answer the next question? In one go, you can reply that. It's from Nayanika Bora. He asks that is art films helps to commercially grow a film industry? If not, what should we can do for our to make our industry like mainstream? Any opinion about that?
Well, as I said earlier, I don't care about the whole thing of this mainstream and this. I'm a very independent filmmaker, so I think art definitely art in the sense. I mean, if you do good work, I think it lasts, but it lasts and it affects it affects the whole system, whole environment. But I'm not sure about the commercial aspect of it, or do the whole thing about this whole business of filmmaking. I don't really know, but definitely it helps the society. It helps the human race, definitely.
Thank you. There is a comment about Megasandra, Rajiv Kumar Shukla, who says that adding to the aesthetics appreciation capacity of the people has been and is a paramount task of film society's movement. Through Megasandra Z. It's a comment, not a question. There is another question from Rita Datta. The very concept of good cinema is ambivalent in nature. What can the film critics do to pursue the masses who are mostly into Bollywood to watch other language independent films? Bitupon, can you reply?
Pardon, can you repeat the question?
Yes, the question is from Rita Datta. The very concept of good cinema is ambivalent in nature. What can the film critics do to pursue the masses who are mostly into Bollywood to watch other language independent films?
The I mean, example of Manipur film policies, I mean, enough to elaborate this point, because unless you, I mean, develop your masses, educate your masses, as you perhaps know that about Adur Gopal Krishna, while he was passing out from FTII, about for 10 years, he used to screen films across the nook and corner of Kerala. And sometimes while, I mean, there was no subtitle, he used to, I mean, narrate the film to the audience. That way, kind of, he, I mean, inculcated cine literacy through the very, I mean, grassroots level. And that is how, today, I mean, the Malayalam, Kerala is one state where, I mean, film literacy is very high. The same, I mean, is true to, I mean, West Bengal as well. It is very, I mean, clear, because it is because of the film society movement is because very, I mean, strong in West Bengal. And there is a very good, I mean, film, I mean, appreciation culture also. So basically, you have to educate your masses about the nature of film, which is, I mean, which speaks about their own, I mean, their own life, their own, I mean, society, not about something very superficial, not about very remote society, not about something very rosy kind of society or rosy kind of life. Those films who speaks of your own story are, I think, good films. If you speak them, if you narrate them with the aesthetic qualities a particular art form, I mean, deemed to have. Thank you.
Okay. Welcome. Is there Pranjal Bora still there or gone?
Yeah, I'm here.
Pranjal?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. You are not visible.
Yes, I can hear.
Your video is not working or what? You are not
So there is some problem with my video. It has got freezed, but I'm audible. I can hear
audible.
You all. Carry on with.
Okay, then it's a question. Actually, you can relate very aptly, I think. The question is from Rajiv Kumar Shukla. The question is an opportunity also being seen in the northeastern cinema to connect to audience using new online platforms as a result of the ongoing COVID-19 induced lockdown, and thus be comparatively free from the commercial pressures?
Yes, Suklaji, this is what I was hinting at. we should try to capitalize on this particular stuff. When it comes to the independent filmmakers, they should try to acclimatize themselves to the emerging scenario. I personally feel if properly oriented, if they go about properly, there is no reason why we won't be able to capitalize on this particular new scenario. Yes, because those OTT platforms have their own methods, own market dynamics and all, and you can even play with them. If you have the creativity, if you have the strategy, this is a golden opportunity for these new breed of filmmakers to further their causes. I personally believe like that, and there are plenty of examples, that are so rampant these days. For example, a couple of weeks back, there came a film Bulbul. Bulbul is a Netflix original. Being a Netflix original, there is no need to explain. It was completely molded and oriented for commercial consumption, and it was meant for commercial consumption. It was nothing sort of a commercial pot boiler, but somehow the director tweaked it, and in the middle of the narrative, she changed the focus so much so that it continued to be a commercial pot boiler, but the focus was changed in such a way that it ultimately became a very powerful feminist narrative. So these are some of the innovative strategy our filmmakers might think about. So I personally feel that this is, in a way, there are challenges ahead definitely, but this is in a way a grand opportunity for us, the new breed of filmmakers from Northeast, to capitalize on the present situation. But as I have already told you, I repeat, the future of entertainment, the future of cinema is going to be the future of the AI mediated milieu. There is no respite from that. There is no relief from that. We must accept it as such.
Thank you, Pranjal. There is another question. Megasandra Kumbam can reply that. The question is from Marhun Lang Kharwan Lang. The question is, would you consider revival of cinemas in Northeast India as a new wave movement in Northeast Indian cinema?
Yeah, we can. We have to do some about this. We have to strengthen the film society movement in the region, and we have to organize more film festivals, and we have to take the help from the film Fipresci-India to get more films, and after it will take more time, so that we have to educate the people also. Even we have to take the discussion with the filmmakers so that we can make a strong movement from the region, so that in the northern region there are so many unexplored stories, and we can make a new film from this northeast India.
Okay, thank you. For the remaining questions, we can reply in very shortly. So the next question is to Havam Pavan Kumar, asked by Minakshi Sede. She asks, do you filmmakers film local any audiences are very influenced by Arirang Korean TV or MTV, and their expectations are shaped accordingly, making it a challenge?
Definitely, I think, especially in Manipur, I don't know about the other states. Definitely in Manipur, Arirang and Korean. Sorry. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah,
I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah.
I can't hear.
Okay. I mean, yeah. So definitely in Manipur, at least, I think it's very much influenced by Korean culture. I mean, so I think it's a great challenge for the filmmakers here. Especially in the commercial circuit. If the way people the people dress, the men protagonist dress, or even the location. I think it's a big challenge because people are so much into Korean culture. I mean, the youths, even my kid, they're always into all this stuff. So it's very difficult for me, for my generation to understand that. But I think it's a big challenge for people, especially who are working in the commercial sector.
Okay. So how about there is another question, mention your name. The question put by Madhu Ravankara. He asks that, how about could you screen your documentaries to the people of Manipur and how was it accepted by the people of Manipur?
See, I've been doing documentaries for the last 13, 14 years. So definitely my films have been
Not getting
screened.
sound.
I think it's a problem with Manjudi, right? Everybody can hear me.
Yes, I hear
Yes,
you.
yes.
Yes, we
Yeah,
can
I
hear
think
you.
it's the only problem. Yeah, Manjudi has a problem. So let me answer. I think there's no time. So I think definitely, yeah, I've been doing documentaries for the last 13, 14 years. So I have been showing my films here, at least because at least after all these films were shown in festivals, luckily, and then when it travels to a festival, you get the government felicitates you, and somehow you're able to show it in private screenings, obviously, and in the felicitations. So that is the only way of showing documentaries, definitely. But yeah, I mean, regarding your question about how people receive it, well, I have always done films about contemporary issues in Manipur, which really affects me as a person, and definitely, I think it's important for the local audience. So, yeah.
Thank you. There is a question by Marhun Lang Kharwan Lang, another question. The question is, would you say that films of Northeast India are influenced by films from outside? Bitupon, you can reply, I think.
Films from outside means what? We
Not
have to clarify
specified.
that.
Not specified.
But I think that it is similar almost with the earlier question asked to Pawan Hawang. It is by Korean movie. The answer is same. Even many of the Naga movies they are making now is highly influenced by Korean movies.
Okay. And there is a question. Okay. So Ankan Rajkumar, he asks, are the challenges faced by documentary filmmakers of Northeast India similar to rest of the country? Obam, you can answer.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
See, I think it's a very simple answer. I mean, it's always. I mean, the problems are everywhere. Maybe the situation is a bit different here. You have to work with. Maybe there are military zones where you have to work, but I think problem as a filmmaker, I think the problem is same everywhere. You just have to know how to deal with it. So definitely, one problem is finance. That is a major problem. But now, with the coming of digital medium, I believe that if you really want to make a film, you can make it. But I think the challenges are same everywhere.
Okay. There is a comment, not a question. It is from Giridhar Gururajan. He says that Northeast, especially Arunachal Pradesh, has a rich exotic nature and you can invite the Hindi filmmakers to use for shooting purposes instead of going abroad. These places can become revenue earning for the government. So, Pranjal, you can reply.
Again, it's a very interesting question. Actually, there were attempts to owe such mainstream filmmakers to this part of the country. In fact, there are certain films, if my memory is not betraying me, Rakesh Roshan's Koila was shot exclusively in Arunachal Pradesh. But eventually, that particular, it did not survive. The reason was probably the infrastructural lacunas we have in this part of the nation, and of course the gory history of insurgents. All these factors combined together somehow precipitated an environment which was not really conducive to that kind of effort. But let's hope that future holds out a lot of promises. Let's hope the people here, the administration here, or rather the people at the helm of affairs would try to see to it that there is some hope, some optimism, some glimmer of hope in this particular aspect. We are looking
Okay.
forward to that.
Yeah, all right. Habam, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add this, that the NFDC has, or maybe INB Ministry has this film felicitation office where that they're in touch with all the states. It's not just about northeast states, but the rest whole country. They're in touch, and there is a nodal officer in every state which looks after this. So yeah, I just wanted to add that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So there are some questions I probably missed, but one question is visible here in this point of time, and it is by Luku Morang, but addressed to me. She asks that what are the qualities needed to become a film critic? Okay, there are 4 film critics in this panel today, so I would like to push the question to other 3. Maybe Megachandra Kungmam or Bitukon can reply. Who will reply? What are the qualities needed to become a film critic?
Yeah.
Simple question. Last question it is.
Yeah. To become a film critic, we need to study the history of the world cinema and the cinema of other countries and Indian cinema. We have to know all these things, and we have to know the language of the films. The language of the film is all.
Okay. Very simple and straight answer. And Habam wants to say something. Yeah.
Just for fun, I think you have to be a bad human being.
Cannot say
That human being to be a good film critic, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So here we have crossed 20 minutes more than 2 hours. So we have to close today's webinar.
Yes.
Enough. It is commented enough by Manju Bora, the veteran filmmaker.
Tea time is over.
Yes, it is over now. So we had a fruitful and good discussion. I hope everybody has got their point. They have been benefited, and listeners and participants also. I hope they have enjoyed the whole session. I thank everybody else, the panelists, the 5 panelists with me, and also I have to be very thankful to Pramendra Majumdar, who is the main person behind organizing this webinar, who is the Secretary of Fipresci-India, and also the technical hand behind this whole effort is Debayan Lahoti or Lahiri. I forgot his title anyway. Debayan. Thankful to you also. Bhadri, yes, Debayan Bhadri. Yeah. So here we end up our program today. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Well,
Thank you.
welcome. Thank you.